The results are in from India's election, and it turns out to be literally the world's largest election, and that's because of the voter turnout. So just to give you a quick overview of what happened during the elections, if you take a look, the party has completely changed. The Congress Party was basically in office for a long period of time, but now the Bharatiya Janata Party, also known as BJP, won the majority in parliament. BJP won the largest number of seats since 1984. And that's about 282 seats out of 545 seats. And that's not to say that in 1984 they won the largest number of seats. That's just to say that this is the biggest win for a particular party since 1984. So the prime minister is a new one, obviously. It's Narendra Modi, and about 500 million showed up to vote. That's about 65% of the voting population.
Jesus, there are a lot of Indians.
A lot of Indians, yeah. Now, if you look specifically at the prime minister, here are a few details about him. I'll fill in the blanks. He is known as a Hindu nationalist. He's pro-business, so he's very much in favor of deregulating, getting rid of bureaucracy, as he calls it, and doing whatever is necessary to ensure that businesses don't have any obstacles to go through in order to hire people, to grow. One of the biggest problems in India right now is their stagnant economy. People are really worried about unemployment. So what he did is he focused specifically on the economy as opposed to religious issues. And we'll get to religious issues in just a second. He was the chief minister of Gujarat, and that is actually the most prosperous in terms of their economy in India. So people were very much attracted to the idea of him taking over the economic situation, but he has not outlined an economic plan yet. We know that he's in favor of, less government involvement. The Congress Party was very much in favor of welfare programs to help the poor. But what's interesting here is the majority of the voters are poor. They make a little over $1 a year. $1 a day. That would be absurd. $1 a day. But obviously, the majority of people voted for this new prime minister, who's not necessarily in favor of all these welfare programs.
Yeah, but when times are bad economically, you sort of vote for change, and even if it works in India as it works here, you vote against your own interests.
Mm-hmm, definitely.
And that appeared to be that's what's going to happen. This guy's pro-business, he's anti-regulation. India has a tremendous amount of corruption and a long time in India, at least Look, I've never been there, and I don't really know, but the stories of India are that, like you want to get something done, you bribe somebody. Like that's how you get things going in India. That's how business is transacted in India.
Yes, definitely. And just to give you an idea of, a more controversial element of these elections, in the early 2000s, there was a huge riot that took place in Gujarat, which of course is the area that he was the chief minister of, and I'm referring to the current prime minister. And the riots took place after there was a train fire, and there were Hindu individuals in the train, and right now it's disputed as to what caused the train fire, but there are accusations that the Muslim population, and of course there's a huge Muslim population in India, that Muslims started the fire, and that started religious riots in the area. Now the reason why he's a controversial figure in all of this is because some criticized him for not doing enough to deal with the violence, and some even accused him of fueling the violence. Now those are just the accusations, but I think that it was a really smart choice for him to not focus on religious issues at all, and focus more on the issue of the economy, because that's what the people of India care about the most. But that was really the one issue within his campaign that could have really screwed him over. But apparently it wasn't enough. He won the majority of votes.
There's a lot of talk about the corruption that his party is involved with, and the percentages are, I think, incredibly interesting. They're really essentially meaningless, though, because the percentages are anomalies. I don't know, did you get any of these, or can I go off and talk about these?
Definitely. Yeah.
So, like, of the 186, 34% of the winners, right, of the 541 lawmakers who won, 34% of the winners have criminal cases pending against them. 1/3. That's up from 30% in the last election. That's statistically insignificant for that kind of thing. So, apparently, about 1/3 of everyone you elect in India is going to have a criminal record against them. Of those, within those 186 winners, so the 186 people that's the 34% who have criminal cases pending against them, 21% have cases related to murder. Oops.
Yeah.
Attempted murder, communal disharmony. Huh. I don't know what that is. Does that mean Like sleep with somebody else's wife? Or does that mean just like raising a ruckus in town? I don't know. Be interesting. Kidnapping.
Yeah.
Crimes against women, obviously, we know that has been a major issue in India. But then as you look down, like of the cases of communal disharmony, which I know there are going to be people who think we're an idiot for not knowing, but I don't know what communal disharmony is. And I suppose it's like disorderly conduct. That's a guess. 12 of the 16 are from that party. Of the 10 cases related to robbery, 7 of the kidnapping, only 3, so more were from the other things. And so it's nearly, I mean, they won the most seats, so they're going to have the most people accused of crimes,
right,
and the most people not accused of crimes. So, but there's from what I read of this party does not appear to be significantly more corrupt than any group of incoming Indian lawmakers have been, assuming that the charges were all sort of credible and weren't politically motivated in the first place, and I'm sure they weren't. But what was most interesting in all this, so I would say ignore that. Say that about a third of Indian incoming politicians have been accused of a crime, rightly or wrongly. Of the winners, here's what matters the most. Money. Money matters in an election in India. Money matters in an election here. 541 winners. 442, 82% are millionaires.
It sounds a lot like what happens in the United States,
Yeah.
except the number, I would say the percentage would be much higher. I mean,
That's an Indian
if you're
millionaire.
not,
Right.
yeah,
Indian
if you're
millionaire, not the same thing, but still, they're among the richest.
Yeah, money in politics. I mean, it is a virus that corrupts, and that's definitely the case here. And I'm not saying that all the candidates are bad candidates, but obviously, if you are not extremely wealthy, you have very little chance of winning. But going back to what you talked about in terms of their criminal records and pending criminal charges, what I found was that it doesn't have that much of an impact when it comes to whether or not someone's going to vote for you. So according to analysis, candidates with criminal records had a 13% chance of winning, almost 3 times higher than the 5% chance to win for candidates with clean records. Fascinating.
That's in part because clearly you commit a crime, especially if it's a crime to get rich. Like, the voters love rich people. The Indian voters love them. Look, people are the same, it turns out, literally. You adapt to your circumstances. And India, for a long time, and what I said at the beginning of this piece, it wasn't meant to disparage India in any way. A lot of the ways you get things done in India is with greasing the wheels. They would obviously, a lot of people would like to get rid of that and have a system that operated more smoothly, because they don't want any obstacles to business. But what do you know? Of the 5, so we told you that 82% were, at least in Indian rupees, were millionaires of the people who won. 281 winners were from the BJP party. 237 of those. So 237 out of 281 were millionaires. So that party, what do you know? The pro-business candidate and the people who came along with him, they're guys who've succeeded in business. And what they want are no impediments to doing business so that they can make even more money. That's how it works. I read these and I think the corruption stuff doesn't bother me at all. Go ahead, cause communal disharmony. But like, here's what's not going to get better, in all likelihood: the life of the poorest Indians. For middle class, maybe it gets a little better because maybe they're better jobs. Maybe that does happen. But the poorest in India, and that's not like the poorest here in America, poor in India, dirt poor, limited access to health care, really
limited access to clean water and sewage systems that work.
Easy access to ill health, bad access to health care. This doesn't. Who knows? I wish them the best and success. It doesn't read like an administration or a government that's going to come in under the parliamentary system there and shake things up and look out for the poorest and most destitute Indians.